Shutdown! ICE! Shutdown! ICE! No nations! Fuck deportation! No borders! No nations! Fuck deportation! No borders! No nations! Fuck deportation! No.
Anand Singh, I'm the president of United Here Local 2. Local 2 it stands with immigrant communities and people everywhere to stand up to the Trump administration, and we're here in support, absolutely.
What does it mean for the immigrants, these kind of raids that are going on?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
What does it mean for the immigrants, these kind of raids that are going on? What's the effect on the immigrant community?
Well, I mean, it tears families apart, and it tears communities apart. So this kind of, reprehensible behavior is really pulling apart the social fabric of our communities. And I know that, the people here today, this city of Oakland, as well as the state of California, are on the right side of history here. We've declared that we're sanctuary cities, we're sanctuary states, and we're going to stand up and defend that. The Trump administration's on the wrong side of history, and that's going to be made known.
Do you think the union should mobilize their membership to join this demonstration here today?
Absolutely. Our union is largely an immigrant workers union, and we're getting the word out to our membership. Absolutely, our membership will mobilize and stand up and support whatever we're doing here today.
And how have your members been affected? Have any of your members been affected by these ICE raids?
Not by these most recent raids that I'm aware of yet, but again, many of our members are immigrant workers. They have families, they live in communities that are impacted. So we are, when an injury to one really is an injury to all. And in this case, we all have to stand up as organized labor and fight back.
Jane Martin with SEIU USWW.
And how are these raids affected your members?
Well, we're trying to, work with our members to make sure people respond with power, not panic. There's so much fear right now. That's what, our members are experiencing. Folks are scared to go to work. Folks are scared to go to the house, to go shopping.
Children in the schools,
That's right. Folks are scared to take their kids to school. But, we have rights, and that's the message we're trying to send out with our members is we have rights, and folks should get informed of their rights. We just passed AB 450, which means that ICE can only enter the workplace with a warrant. They can only enter the home with a warrant, and folks need to be prepared, to when and if ICE comes to their door, how to respond. We do have rights, and we want to respond in that way.
Do you think the Trump administration is targeting particularly the Bay Area because of opposition to these attack on immigrant workers?
Absolutely, that's what they've said. They've said this is to go against our sanctuary policies, and that's why we're here defending them. To say we have a right to have our sanctuary policies. San Francisco, the Bay Area, and all of California is standing on the side of sanctuary, and Trump's on the wrong side. He's on the wrong side of history.
And is your union membership going to be involved in this?
Yeah, we have folks here today, and we've been, every step of the way standing with the immigrant rights movement. Our members are immigrant workers, and we're a big part of this movement.
Kathryn Lybarger, AFSCME Local 3299 president, represents UC workers.
And why are you here today?
Basically because there have been these ICE raids all throughout Northern California, and this is Trump administration retaliating on Bay Area and San Francisco and all those communities like ours that have stood up and declared that we're sanctuary, that everyone belongs here. They shouldn't be ripping families apart. Trump administration's on the wrong side of history.
And California has a large number of immigrants. Immigrant community, is it having an effect of terrorizing the immigrant community at this point?
Yeah, ICE is a terrorist organization. It's just, people who are detained aren't given due process. It's inhumane.
Many of your members are immigrants and their families. Are there concerns among your own membership that they're going to be targeted as a result of these raids?
I think the point of all these raids is to actually instill fear in immigrant communities, regardless of whether you have papers or not, honestly. And I think that these raids impact all of us. It impacts all workplaces. The idea is to split us all apart.
You think there's a racism involved in this too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you've heard a lot of talk about Mexico, needing to build a wall with Mexico. Not a lot of talk about Canada.
And what do you think, you're president of the AFL-CIO in California, what do you think the AFL-CIO should do in California about these ICE raids?
I think that all of labor needs to stand up and join forces with all the folks who are really on the front lines, like people chained up together behind me who are really taking a stand. Got to support immigrant communities and all the community activists.
And union rights, a lot of people, if they're immigrants, are afraid of speaking up if they don't have papers. Does that affect organizing and labor rights?
Yeah, it does affect organizing. We have to all stand up for each other. At the same time, some of the strongest activists and strongest organizers in the community and in labor are people who don't have these rights. And they really shine a light and point a way forward for all the rest of us on, what it means to stand up.
And at UC, there are a lot of immigrant students. DACA, are they being affected as well by these raids?
Yeah, I think that as I said, there are families being torn apart, and there are kids that, there are instances of kids who've not been allowed back into the country once they've left. We're putting pressure. I think something labor has to do is put pressure on their employers to declare the workplaces as sanctuaries. And it's a fight that we have with the university.
My name is Sharif Zakout, Sharif, last name Zakout.
And you're out here locked in, it seems, with these barrels in front of the INS office, ICE office here. This pretty radical action. Why are you taking this kind of radical action today?
So we're taking it here today because we fully understand that right now the state is after our communities, is breaking apart families. And for us to hear that over 50 to 100 families have been arrested within the last couple days, the Supreme Court decision and basically making it so that anyone who's detained as an immigrant can be detained indefinitely, we understand that it's important for us to be here because we need to show that we are not normalizing this type of behavior for the state. We have to understand that we are here in solidarity with other communities. These communities are a part of us and are a part of the Bay Area. And as long as they are being targeted by the state, as long as families are being harmed, broken apart, we will continue to be here and continue to resist.
So you're not going to go away?
We're not going to go away until we're told to go away or until we all collectively decide to go away. But really, we are here and we'll continue to be out here, if not today, tomorrow, the next day, until all of our families feel safe, especially from this ongoing administration.
And do you know anybody personally that's been affected by the raids?
Yeah, definitely. So I work at an immigration office and I work with Arab immigrants specifically, but even the immigrants being held indefinitely is something that we've already faced as an immigration office. ICE raids, deportations, things like that have all been things that have happened within the Arab and Muslim community, but more broadly within the community in the Bay Area. It's impacted all of us regardless of where we come from and what background it is. We have to make sure that we're standing here for everyone, clear that we're creating a safe space for all of our communities to live and thrive.
And what can people do who want to support you?
I think if people want to support, they need to come out to these actions like that. They should join the Bay Resistance Hotline. They can text RESIST to 41411. They can also support local organizations that do immigration work. Right now, we're heavily impacted, and part of the issue is that our city is not resourced well enough to actually help our communities, where it's kind of laid now all on organizations that are doing that work. So definitely we want to be able to have more resources, and we also want our immigrant communities to have legal representation, which has also been part of the problem, even with what we've seen today and how they haven't brought anyone that they've detained over to this center, effectively not allowing them any type of legal counsel.
Okay, just be on the side. On the side. That's exit. You can block the exit. Just stay with it.
Deportation, not one more! 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 Deportation, not one more!
My name is Blanca Vasquez. Today we have mobilized the Bay Area to respond to the mass arrests that were reported by ICE yesterday, to denounce those arrests and to support the impacted families. As of today, we have received confirmation that even though there were arrests in Northern California, that those arrests were not processed in San Francisco, even though this is the ICE Processing Center for Northern California, and those folks have actually been sent to Stockton. And so as of right now, the legal team is struggling to actually get any information from the Stockton field office. They're not being given any information, which is impeding due process, which we know is actually under attack right now, especially after the Supreme Court ruling.
What do you think about that ruling of the Supreme Court? Immigrants who are arrested don't have right to review?
Right. I mean, that is a direct attack on the community, the immigrant community, not just the community who's constantly being threatened by ICE enforcement, but the community who is being held currently in detention centers who don't have that right, which is a constitutional right to have a bond hearing. And so it's very unfortunate. We're very sad and we're very frustrated. And even more so now, because of this Supreme Court decision, we need to come out more out to the streets to support the community, immigrant community that's being threatened and that's the most vulnerable right now, which is folks who are currently in detention centers.
Shut down ICE. Why? Because they're deporting immigrants. I feel like they're probably targeting people that look like they are from Mexico. It's horrible. I mean, they come here because where they are is not a place that they can stay and be safe. You know, it's not like they come here because they want to hurt people, or they come here because they want to take the things from the country or make the country worse, or whatever the things people seem to think it is. They come here because where they are is not a place that they can live and be safe and protect their children.
Yeah, I'm Lisa Milos. I'm an interpreter, and I'm also a member of a rank and file member of my union at the University of California, San Francisco, the University Professional and Technical Employees. I'm speaking here as rank and file member. I'm also a daughter of an immigrant woman, first generation American, and one of the things that I think needs to be discussed here is that it seems like people have amnesia in this country. That a lot of the problems that people call a problem, an immigration problem, is actually born out of the United States policies. The United States policies in Central America during the 80s. I'm old enough to remember that.
So you're saying the United States actions in Central America and Mexico are actually forcing people to come to this?
Well, yeah. Well, basically, if it had not been for the intervention of the United States in Central America, people would not have been running away from civil war. There would not have been this influx, of people, because people generally like to be able to stay in their own countries, with their families and things like that, if they can survive. And also the NAFTA policies, the so-called free trade, seems like the only thing that they allow to cross the borders freely is money, capital, and corporations, but not people. And so that's basically a bunch of bullshit. And also in Mexico in particular, I mean, the people have been impoverished by the the economic policies of the United States, NAFTA included. And
Trump says that Mexico got a better deal than the United States.
Yeah, tell that to the maquilladora workers who work their asses off and have to work for like...
In Driscoll, the 80,000 workers.
Right, the 80,000 workers and agricultural workers in Driscoll who work for poverty wages, and 6-year-olds have to work for poverty wages as well, child labor. There's also the whole issue of the so-called war on drugs, where the United States has been sending so-called aid, but it's been basically weapons that have ended up in the hands of the cartel, because it's like everybody knows that the Enrique Peña Nieto government is completely corrupt, and they keep on sending money and aid, so-called aid down there. And I mean, people run away from their country because they're literally in danger of being killed. And I think the Democratic Party here, everybody here is talking about Trump's wall. In reality, this wall was started way before that, and the deportation started way before that. And the Democratic Party has a lot to atone for, a lot to recognize, because they've fed into this so-called debate on immigration and basically have towed the line. They've towed the line of
The militarization of the border and
militarization of the border, which, by the way, the surveillance company that is in Nogales, Arizona, covering for the border for the United States, is Israeli. Is an Israeli company. So this military-industrial complex is international in scope, with a military weapons system that the United States has together with Israel. So all of the struggles are really united in reality, because the situation of our wall here is directly related with a wall in Palestine, directly related with the workers in Palestine, the workers in Mexico, the workers in the United States. We're all basically being screwed over by the same people. And I think we need to be aware of that.
And you're saying shut down ICE? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's what people here are saying. Yeah, we need to shut down ICE. We need to get them out of here. There's no place for them. ICE is a Gestapo.
Trump has threatened to pull them out. You say?
Yeah. I don't believe anything Trump says,
But you think they should be pulled out?
Of course, yeah. I would agree with Trump in that respect, but I really doubt he would do it. I really doubt he would do it, because he's so in love with guns and so in love with authoritarianism that he's not going to do that. But in any event, it's people would say it's hyperbole to compare ICE to the Gestapo, but to tell you the truth, few people realize that at the beginning Gestapo was not sending people to concentration camps. They were rounding up people, or they were not sending them to the gas chambers. But if you look at today, immigrants, even documented immigrants, they have far less rights than they had 20 years ago. They can be put in jail and detained without bond hearings, as the latest Supreme Court ruling, without bond hearings every 6 months like they're supposed to. They can be detained, and undocumented people are being detained indefinitely. And I mean, that ties in also with all the other things that we allow to happen to people that are being in prison. Political prisoners have been in jail for 40 years, like Leonard Peltier and Mumia Abu Jamal. I'm sorry, I'm mixing everything up, but it's actually completely related, because this whole military system, the weapon system, and the prison system is combined, and the walls as well.
The people are united by more than just the stamp that's on a piece of paper that says that we were born here or not born here. Californians are united by our ideals, by our goals, by our collective effort, by the work that we do, by the food that we grow, by the industries that we create. If you look at the other coast, they are creating weapons. And if you look at our coast, we're growing food, we're growing solar, and we're creating machines that run on air or electricity, rather than trying to continue to make more machines that run on fossil fuels. So we, as a state, I think we're going in the right direction. And anytime that you are going in the right direction, you are going to find obstacles in the form of fascists who want to stop you from leading the rest of the nation in the right direction.
Deportation. No borders, no nations, but deportation.
Mi esposo salió a parquear un carro y recibí la llamada de una vecina 5 minutos después diciéndome que migración tenía a mi esposo.
Today, this morning, around 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., my husband was out to get his car, going to get to work, and when I got the notice that actually he had been detained by ICE.
Lo que hicimos enseguida fue, yo salí a ver qué estaba pasando, ya desperté a mi nuera y a mi hijo y los mandé a que grabaran un video qué estaba pasando, por qué lo están deteniendo, y preguntaron por mi nombre y le preguntaron si era mi nuera.
Sí, era mi nuera. So the first thing that I did was to ask my daughter-in-law and my son to go outside to see what was happening, to actually document, record, take a video of how the arrest was being conducted. And then I just was asking a lot of questions to our family.
Les preguntamos qué pasaba y solamente dieron una tarjeta diciendo que tenían un warrant for his arrest. Y nada más nos dijeron que estaba aquí en San Francisco, que podíamos venir y cuando era hora de visita podíamos verlo. Llegamos aquí y recibo llamada de mi esposo que está en Stockton. Eso nunca estuvo aquí. Es una mentira que venía acá.
So to translate, what ICE told us is that they had a warrant, and that's the reason why they took him. They told us that they were going to put him in a processing center here in San Francisco, and then that we would get an opportunity to actually visit him. We immediately rushed to here to San Francisco to see my husband. Once we got here, we were let know that he never made it to here to San Francisco, but instead he was transferred to Stockton.
Y ahora solo estamos esperando otra llamada de él para que nos diga a dónde lo van a mandar, porque no quisieron darnos la dirección de dónde está para ir para allá. Queríamos ir a Stockton, pero no le dieron nada y dijeron que después llame para que diga a dónde va a estar. So, ahorita no podemos hacer nada, solo esperar una llamada.
I forgot to say that she also mentioned that this is the way that ICE lies and continues to lie. And so once we ask them, well, let us know where my husband is, they say that they're not able to give us any information. And right now at the moment, there's nothing that we can do but to wait for this call so that they let us know of the exact location where he's at right now. And that's it. Not one more deportation. Not one more
Deportation, not one more!
Power. People.
Power!
People.
Power!
When I say people, y'all say power. People.
Power!
People.
Power!
Money for jobs and education. None for wars and deportation. Money for jobs and education.
Not for deportation!
Hello, my name is Kathryn Lybarger, and I'm a member of the League of Filipino Students at San Francisco State University. So for anybody who has just been coming in, for all the people who have been here today, we wanted to just say thank you, but also just to remind why we are here. Over the past several days, there have been over 150 mass arrests and deportations in Northern California alone by ICE agents. Many of us who are here are the youth, maybe did not even know that this building fucking existed. When we think about who is in power, the people that are surrounding us that are inciting violence, it is under the leadership of folks like the mayor of San Francisco, the police, militarized police. But when we think overseas, the people that are being targeted in our communities here in the Bay Area, it is not only a direct attack on immigrant communities, but it is an attack on all sanctuary cities under the fascist regime of Donald Trump. To give a little bit of a context, again, we're from the League of Filipino Students at San Francisco State University. We're part of the National Democratic struggle with a socialist perspective back in the Philippines. Right now in the Philippines, there are attacks via the martial law declaration in Mindanao, in southern Philippines. There are over 400,000 displaced indigenous people in Mindanao due to our tax dollars going to fund imperialist war in places like the Philippines, in Palestine, in Syria, and all over Central America. Where do we go? Where do our families go when they're displaced in their own homeland? They go to Saudi Arabia. They go and export their labor, their bodies, over here to the United States to find jobs, to find education. Our parents that sacrifice their livelihoods for us to attain education here. But what do to black and brown students here? They raise the tuition fees. They get rid of education like ethnic studies. And what else do? They target documented and undocumented students here living in San Francisco. And when they deport us, what do? The military funds bombing our homelands. We are trapped in this cycle of face repression and fascist dictatorship. Not only in the hands of Trump, but his lapdogs, such as the president of the Philippines, Duterte, who is inciting violence via martial law. So when we think about why we are here today, what
do we do moving forward? I can give a couple of suggestions.
Yeah.
Number one is joining hands with our undocumented brothers and sisters, not only who are people that are dreamers and people who are enlisted under DACA, because not everybody has paperwork. There are people who are tago na tago, or as we like to call, hiding, continuously hiding, in order to send money back home. What we need to do is join mass organizations.
Liberation, down, down, and deportation.